Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have a card that features the Late But With Love stamp from Gerda Steiner Designs. I decided to just use the snail image from the stamp set and make him the main focal point on a card. And rather than use the Late With Love sentiment that matches so perfectly with him, I decided to use a different sentiment just to mix it up, because using that one it's pretty clear and obvious how to use that one. But I wanted to do something a little bit out of the ordinary with him, bring him to give him kind of like a magical look with some rainbow coloring and some sparkle. I think with snails it's pretty easy to go with the browns, the greens, the sort of dull look, but I just wanted to do something a little bit fun and out of the box with him. And so, like I said, I'm just going to do some rainbow coloring. I decided to go with some Inktense pencils for my coloring today. I could get a really bright look with Copics as well, but I wanted to do some unusual color blending in a rainbow pattern where I would blend green into yellow and purple into blue and red into orange and things like that. So I felt like that would be easier in this small space with the Inktense pencils than with Copics. And I like the Inktense pencils when I want an intense watercolor look, because just as the name suggests, they really give you a rich, vibrant color. Watercolor generally tends to be a little bit more muted, although I know there's some watercolor sets out there that have more vibrant colors, but Inktense are also, in my opinion, one of the easiest watercolors to use because they are pencils, so you lay down all of the color in one shot and then you can go in and watercolor them. So for the snail, I did the rainbow with purple and blue on the body, green on the shell into yellow, into orange, and then into the red. And initially I had blended the yellow next to the red when it really should have been the orange, and so when I do the second snail I make the rainbow a little bit more cohesive. And I'm using two different colors of green and two different colors of yellow to make sure that the blend is a little bit more subtle and not go right from the dark green to the bright yellow, but instead to a limey yellow, then even like a very light greenish yellow into the solid yellow. And the 36 color set that I have actually provides you a really good range of bright colors. And I'm taking a water brush, but I'm not adding any water to it when I blend the colors. I just sprayed a little bit of water there on my Ranger craft sheet, and you see that I use my hand instead of a napkin to wipe off the color a little bit when I'm, blending between colors. I find that Inktense pencils, you can switch colors really easily, and that you can, wipe the color off your brush easily. Whereas when you're using traditional watercolors, you have to rinse the brush a lot more, in my experience. And so that's one of the other reasons that I prefer working with them. I just feel like they're just a little bit easier to control. And once I finish my watercoloring, I'm going to make sure that it's all dry with the heat gun. But Inktense pencils do dry very quickly, and once they are dry, they are completely permanent. Not like traditional watercolors where when you add water, you can reactivate them. Once you have your Inktense pencils dry, they're going to stay that way, and that's part of the way they have that kind of that bright, more ink-like color, and that's kind of again where that name comes from. So once I have my snail colored, I decided to extend the feeling of the kind of like the magical, the fantasy, because obviously a snail wouldn't really be a rainbow, and to keep that fantasy element going, I decided to use this star stencil from Create a Smile Stamps, and I want to spray it with this Tattered Angels Black Magic spray, and it's a black spray with gold shimmer in it. And I like to use black to contrast with rainbows, but I was worried that I wouldn't get a really even coverage with just the spray, so I take a little bit of a gray, in this case particularly pumice stone, distress ink, and dot it down in the stencil just to have a slight layer of color in case the black spray doesn't spray intense enough. Then I'm going to mix it up, and I make sure that all of that gold glitter that's in the bottom is completely mixed into the bottle, and then I spray it from about 6 inches away until I feel like I have pretty good coverage. And I tend to not have super good control of my spray, but because I use my craft mat, I'm not too worried if the spray gets everywhere because it's really easy to clean up with just a paper towel and a wet baby wipe or something like that. But when I sprayed this down, a lot of the spray is pooling on top of the stencil, and I don't want it to leak under the stencils. I want the images of the stars to be really crisp. So before I lift up the stencil, I pat away most of the ink. Because if I were to just lift up the stencil, then the ink that's pooled on top will seep underneath, and that's not the look that I'm going for. So I blot it, then I'm going to dry it with a heat gun before I remove it and continue to clean off my surface. Once I have that all done, I decide to re-stamp the snail because I want to add in the detail of his antenna again that was lost when I fussy cut him out. I just stamped that solid black, but I want to add a sentiment, and in order to make sure that you can see the sentiment amongst the blackish gray stars there, I knew that I needed to give it a little bit more punch than just black stamping, and so I stamp it in the VersaFine and then clear emboss it, and just giving it that little bit of texture and shine make it stand out a little bit more. I'm not entirely happy with it, and I might have, if I was doing it again, I might just add a banner there instead so that the sentiment was a little bit more clear because it does get kind of lost between the stars. Overall, I like the way that it looks because it gets that the magical feel that I've been talking about and going for today, because there's the shine, there's the glitter, the shimmer, the bright colors, all of those things that to me give off that effect. And so I'm going to directly adhere the fussy cut snail to this, and because it's watercolor paper that I used, it's quite thick and even adds just a little bit of dimension, even though I've just glued it down with some regular adhesive. The panel that I put the snail on is cut with the MFT Stitch Square dies, and I'm using another Stitch Square die. I'm using the largest one and the second largest one. The largest one is that black panel there, and the second largest one is the one that I did all my creating on. And then I just go about another ½ inch out to create this small square base for my card. And that's it. And I'm kind of trying to move it about here to see if you can see the shimmer that catches the light really well in real life, but it doesn't quite come through as much on the camera there, unfortunately. But that's it for my card today. I'm going to leave you links to the Gerda Steiner store so you can check out this stamp set and to the other products below. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafty videos, you can subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.